Hi, this is Leanne with the Everyday Princess. Welcome. It's February, and I thought appropriate with Valentine's to tell some love stories this month. And this week and next week, I'm going to tell you about how my husband and I fell in love. My husband used to be able to hold people hostage at a table telling the story for 3 hours, and I promise I won't take 3 hours. Although it would be fun too. It actually began with Warren's first wife. She was a good friend of mine, and she was diagnosed with cancer, and that was a very hard stretch. Many people were praying for them and also for Warren and Christopher when the time would come that the Lord would take Cynthia home. And on October 11th, 1995, God did just that. He took Cynthia home. So wonderful for her. But as I said, many were praying for Warren and Cynthia and Christopher. And what I didn't know is that I would be one of the answers to these prayers. Yes, so right after Cynthia died, I left for 5 weeks to go to Wales to do a course called The Leader as a Person. And there's always some major topic that comes up. And there's small groups, there's counseling sessions, there's teaching, there's lots of being out in nature. And everybody seems to have one topic, especially that God speaks to them about. And for me, it surprised me because it was actually about the death of my mom 18 years before. And in one session, talking with my counselors, they said, Leanne, have you said goodbye to your mom? Because you really should if you haven't. And I said, well, that sounds like just a silly question because mom died when I was 16 and I'm now in my mid-30s. And but inside this voice is screaming, never. And I said, which voice should I listen to? And they said, this voice. They said, Leanne, you need to let the hole be there for God to fill it. I said, okay. And I did. I said goodbye to my mom. I know I'll see her again, just to be clear. She's a child of the King too. So I got home from this 5 weeks, very intense, and thought I'll take a week off, I'll take a week of my vacation. I was talking to my friend Kim when we were out for a walk, and I said, I know they say you're supposed to keep in touch with your team leader, but this is so personal, and I don't really feel like, and Warren was my team leader, and I don't really feel good about talking with him about personal things. And so I went into the office just to check in to see if I could take the week off. And Warren greets me and says, how was it? What was the big topic? And I said, death, actually. And Cynthia had only been gone about 6 weeks at this point. And he goes, wow, I would love to talk to you about it. And I said, I'd love to tell you about it. And I'm like, who said that? That couldn't have come out of my mouth. But in that moment, I can't explain it. I was in love. Boom. I was a goner. That was it. I went home to my apartment. I had this week off and I'm like, what was I thinking? Taking a week off now. I was like going crazy. And I finally went over to my friend Donna Jean. She is a good friend and had children and long, marriage and experience. And I thought I need to talk to an older woman and a good friend. So I said, Donna Jean, I have never said this out loud before. You can't even tell your husband, but I have feelings for Warren. And she got this big smile on her face. And I said, Donna Jean, am I going crazy? And she goes, no, you're not crazy. I was so relieved. But I realized that I can't say anything. Cynthia just died a month and a half ago. So I didn't. I just, Lord, if you want it to happen, you're going to have to make it happen. And so that was like the end of November. And in December, we worked in the same office. I just found that I'd turn around and Warren would be there. I'd turn around and Warren would be there. We went and got the team Christmas tree together, and Warren said, oh, Cynthia'd be so happy we were doing this outing together. And just before Christmas, Warren said in team meeting, he goes, Christopher and I could really use help decorating. We're not so good at this for Christmas. And I said, well, I'm going to Bratislava with Kim for a few days before Christmas, but when I get back, I'm happy to give you a hand. And so Kim and I go to Bratislava, visit friends, and on Christmas Eve afternoon, we're back. We're taking the train back, and I hadn't said anything because I thought everybody would think I was crazy. I just needed time for myself to think it through. And in the train going back, Kim's like, so Leanne, is there anything going on with you and Warren? I'll be seeing Brian. Brian and Audrey were, Brian was the director of the mission, and he and his wife Audrey were good friends, and they kind of watched over me, and I appreciated that. She goes, I'm going to see Brian in this coming week. So is there anything I should tell him that he should be concerned about? And I said, Warren and I are friends, and if it becomes more, that would be great, and if not, we're friends. And so we get off the train, and okay, you got to know, Warren was very big on, just get on a bus. You don't need to be picked up at the station. And so when we got off the train and we're heading down the ramp in the main train station in Vienna, and I look at the bottom, and who is there? Warren. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a clear sign. He's in love with me. There'd be no other reason for him to pick somebody up at the train station instead of getting on a bus. And he hadn't quite figured it out yet himself. Bless his heart. But he said, I just was guessing which train you would be on. And, you said you could help with decorating. So we took him home and I helped him decorate. And we sat down to what ended up being a 3-hour talk. He thought it was going to be business and what's my future and blah, blah, blah. Well, it was, but it was his future too. He ended up talking about, because halfway through the light went on, and he told me later, he goes, I had to sit on my hands so I wouldn't take you in my arms, and which wouldn't have been all so bad. But we realized, yes, there was something here, and but we knew before we could say anything to anybody else that he had to talk to Christopher. So, and this was Christmas Eve afternoon. So he talked to Christopher, and you'll never guess what he said. So come back next week and hear part 2. That's my cliffhanger. Aren't you proud of me? I made a cliffhanger. So if you would like, you can subscribe. Just tap on subscribe and the little bell, and it'll remind you each Tuesday, the Everyday Princess, a new video comes out. The Lord bless you.